I'm Ben Summers. I'm a painter, mixed media artist, and I guess more latterly a mural painter as well. I've had an artistic practice for as long as I can remember, to be honest. But I would say for about sort of 15 to 20 years. And I'm the winner of the 2023 VAO Painting Award, Painting Category Award.
Do you want to give us 3 top tips for artists?
So, my 3 top tips, having had a bit of a think about this, because I think that this has evolved for me over time. There was definitely a period where I sort of shunned art prizes, just thinking that it's a kind of scattergun type situation. You're never going to stand a chance. And my mindset has shifted quite dramatically over that time before I even entered the Visual Arts Open Award. And the main reason for that is that I think it's something good to aim for. They are good to aim for. And nowadays it seems to be that there's a lot more prizes about. There's actually a lot more opportunities now. So my first top tip is really look at everything that's out there and spend the time researching, having a look at all the art prizes. And there's a lot of international ones now as well that have international eligibility. So first top tip, yeah, spend the time researching. There's probably a prize out there that you feel aligned to, and you have a good chance of entering. And if your work's ready, then just simply go for it. You never know. So that's my first tip. Second tip, this one I think is potentially quite a helpful universal tip, and that is don't make work for the competition, which might seem like a strange thing to say. Any time that previously I've seen an opportunity and I've gone, right, this is the one, it's going to happen, £10,000 cash prize, whatever it is, and I've made something purely because I think it's going to fit in with the prize, it's never felt right. Not only have I not been successful, but that's kind of less important. It just felt like I've deviated from the work that I should be making, if that makes sense. So my advice with that in sort of preparing for art prizes is like focus on the work that you're making in your studio. Like just sort of almost get a lot of work ready. Then when you're ready to submit something, have a look at all the work you've made, select the one that you feel you're most happy with and do it that way. Because for me anyway, I've found that it's just a sort of truer representation of what you're doing. And it doesn't deviate you too much from your own practice, and also the ideas you're trying to generate in your practice. So that would be my number 2. And this is quite a big one. And I think this is actually quite useful for any opportunity. It doesn't have to be open call or prize related, which is don't incrementally check. The good thing, and I think part of the thing I enjoyed about the process of the Visual Arts Open for me is that I submitted the painting, submitted the work, and I literally forgot about it. There was a lot of stuff, there's a lot of other stuff happening in life, as with all of us, but I literally forgotten about it. A few months went by, and then bang, long list, short list, and then and it was quite. I felt there was something in there. There was almost maybe a lesson in terms of disconnecting from the outcome, and I can genuinely say that with that one, I literally forgot that I'd even entered, and I disassociated myself from the outcome. So I think it's a healthy thing to do the work, like prepare well, be happy with what you've submitted, and then just move on to something else straight away. Like, refocus your energy onto some other project and just let the outcome take care of itself. Because ultimately, once you've hit that submit button, you don't have any control whatsoever. So I think that would be my third. But that's one that I've now tried to sort of apply to quite a lot of things that I'm working on.
Do you want to tell us why it's important to apply for art prizes?
Artists that I know, some pretty successful in their own right, put off by potentially the number of people applying. So whether it's 500 or 5,000. In the end, unless you enter, you're not going to be in with, with a chance. So I would say don't be put off. I mean, this is another tip really, but don't be put off by the potential number of people apply. There's definitely benefits to, I think, again, going back to what you're doing in the studio, being in a good place with the work that you're making, and then thinking, right, what's out there? There's three opportunities. These look pretty good. Let's spend the submission money. What is that in total? Maybe it's 50 quid. Okay, these are still tough times, but try and not think about the submission cost. In the grand scheme, £6 is, a couple of coffees. £10 is, whatever it is. That's a day. That's a day traveling around London on the underground. Try and think of that kind of submission, sort of, the potential blockers and kind of sort of mindset blocks that would stop you entering. Do you see what I mean? So number of people, I can't afford the submission. I don't want to pay the submission. All those things, try and sort of push past that and look at the opportunity with its potential, really. I mean, I think in general, I've probably, I think over time, as I said, that there was a period where I didn't really bother entering them because the work wasn't ready. But I think I've maybe entered about sort of 10 to 12 prizes and competitions in my lifetime, which isn't actually a great deal. There's a lot more out there. I think you could enter 10 or 12 in a year if you were kind of really organized and you had a bit of a budget. So again, yeah, look at it that way. There's a lot of opportunity. You never know. And I think at the very least, there will be people looking at your work and enjoying it. And yeah, they'll be, even if you don't get selected, they'll be probably keeping an eye on what you're doing. And I'd say the other thing is that nearly always it's 3 to 6 judges. So that's 6 people out of many, many hundreds of potential judges and judging panels that might shift over the years. And I think that's something else to bear in mind.
So next bit, do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience in applying for the VA award and obviously winning the painting?
Yeah, so again, I was like, it was a really welcome surprise again. I was again, I was definitely, I was really happy with the piece that I submitted. So a lot of it goes back to that for me. And it was interesting because I'd started making that piece, which was a bit of an outlier as far as the work that I was making. I'd started making it beginning of sort of 2020. And then I sort of put it to the side. It was one of those ones, I'd sort of worked on it for a while. I wasn't really happy with where it was going. I rolled it up and just put it away. And I was working on lots of other different pieces. And then about a year later, I kind of unearthed it and had another look. And it was just that piece that it was always there while I was working on other things. And those other pieces were developing a lot quicker. They were perhaps more meaningful. They were more relatable to the kind of ideas that I was working on at the time. And that piece was always on the wall. So it was just this kind of, it's just like, okay, really, I should try and work on this one and spend a bit of time on this one now. But it was always, and I find that, there's nearly always those couple of pieces that you're just not sure about and you're not sure what to do with, and they will just take longer, and you'll hear other artists talk about this. I think some pieces, whether or not you work quickly, they just take longer, and that was one of those ones. So I'd sort of toiled over it during the pandemic and then sort of knocked it back and reapplied paints and changed the composition and got it to a really interesting place where there was a lot happening, and there was also a lot happening sort of narrative wise and in terms of the color, and it just looked really, really interesting, and had, ended up informing a lot of the way that I've made work subsequently, more in the way that I've been kind of using paint and thinking about color as well. So it's been a really interesting piece to kind of direct newer work since then. And yeah, I just again, it was just the most interesting thing that I'd done at the time, and that I had. So I thought, okay, well, let's enter this one because it ticks all those boxes once again. And yeah, I thought the prize was seemed kind of accessible. And I liked the sort of category approach as well. I think that's because we all want to aim for the big prize, and I think it's nice to see more prizes adopting that kind of category approach now. So you've got an overall winner, and then you've got the opportunity for recognition within, your own discipline. And I think that's quite healthy, actually. I think it probably encourages more people to have a go as well. So yeah, that's a little, and obviously got selected and was very happy. So yeah, what else to say really? It's also, I think the exhibition, the final show in the art fair as well. That was nice. I think that it was nice to be included amongst a fair where you knew there was quite a big footfall of people. Um, and the potential for a lot of people to engage with the work over those 3 days or however long it was. So I think that was a nice aspect to it as well.
So last question is, what's next for you? What plans have you got?
Yeah, so I'm regrouping for a solo project, hopefully this year, if not this year, next year. So I'm just tinkering away with the same kind of body of work, just trying to get it right. And then at some point I will, yeah, there'll be a solo show, either in London or maybe one of the more northern cities, but we'll see. Yeah, so working on that. Also working on a group show project, which was put on ice for a while. I'm going to sort of reinvigorate that with some other artists, and then yeah, my kind of my direction shift, although it's not really a shift, is been spending a lot of time sort of tendering and researching for some kind of bigger external mural and sort of street facing work as well. So I'm working on sort of 3 or 4 sites at the moment that where I could potentially, upscale my work. And yeah, that I think will become more of a kind of regular feature for the work I want to make. So just, yeah, big, bold outdoors on exterior walls, in the environment, in front of people, yeah, using machinery, that kind of stuff. So I think it's nice to be in the studio. I really like the studio, but I'm one of those artists that I have a time stamp on the amount of time I can spend, day in, day out just in the studio. I definitely, over the years, I've realized I need that balance. Basically, I need to be doing stuff outdoors with the public, with the community, and then retreat when I need to and just sort of hide away. So yeah. So yeah, watch this space. Hopefully there's some interesting things on the horizon.